very, very bad. January 29th, we had a terrible mid-air collision, right? Killed 67 people just outside Reagan National Airport in the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. And 2 days later, it was a medical transport plane that crashed in Philadelphia. 6 people on board.
Deregulation.
One person on the ground.
Deregulation.
Another 24 people
Deregulation.
then 2 days
Deregulation.
after that, a United Airlines plane caught fire on the target in Houston.
Deregulation.
Flames seen shooting out of the wing. 104 passengers and 5 crew members
Petulance.
evacuated out of that plane.
Greed.
3 days after that, it's a Japan Airlines
Sinners'
plane that
dreams.
smashes into the tail of a Delta Airlines plane on the tarmac at
Sinners'
SeaTac at the
flesh.
Tacoma Airport.
Love in
Wreckage
this.
of a small commercial plane that crashes.
Congratulations.
All 10 people on board.
I pray for you ever
3 days
since
after that, one person
2015.
one plane smashes into another at the airport in Scottsdale,
Protect
Arizona.
them.
5 days after that, 2 people killed in a small plane crash.
Light 'em
in
up.
Georgia. 4 days after that,
Turn
2
on
people
all the
killed when
lights.
2 planes collide midair.
It's
at an
time
airport
to
just northwest of
triage.
Tucson, Arizona. At this point, we're not yet 1 month into Donald Trump's second term, but it just keeps going. February 24th, a Delta flight from Atlanta is forced to turn around and have an emergency evacuation after the cabin fills up with some kind of smoke. 1 day later, it's an American Airlines flight that is forced to abort its landing at, once again, Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. in order to avoid colliding with another plane.
In the
4 days after
facade
that, it's a
to
FedEx
get
flight
rid
that
of
lands at Newark
all
Airport with an engine
federal
on fire. Over the next 2
government.
weeks, there are 15
And then
more people killed
state government
in 9 more
can be the
air crashes.
governors,
One
little
alongside a
kings.
Nashville highway that kills
They
3
rename
children.
everything.
And we get a Delta
They're
Airlines
undoing
flight smashing
every
into the
single
runway
word
landing
written
at
in the
LaGuardia Airport
Constitution,
in New York
folks.
City. Then back again at Reagan National Airport in Washington. A Delta passenger plane is preparing to take off, and a military jet is preparing to land. And
I won't be
both of those
flying
aircraft
for a
receive emergency
long
last-second
time.
instructions to divert in order to prevent yet another collision. Then it's a flight from Florida to Newark.
Please
It has to
pause.
divert to Washington Dulles after a fire
God
in the
can
cabin.
protect
A
you.
week later, there are 6 members of Congress on board. An
As long
American
as you
Airlines
want
plane
truth,
that clips the wing of another American Airlines plane.
God
at,
has
once
all
again,
the answers.
Reagan National Airport in
He's the only one
Washington,
that can
D.C.
stop this now.
That same day,
We
a helicopter
failed these
crashes into
people.
the Hudson River in New York City, killing 6 people,
We,
including 3 children.
the
Over the next 10
citizens,
days, 21 more people
failed.
were killed in 7 more plane crashes.
At every
April 22nd,
step.
that thing you think never happens in real life happens
I'm
on the tarmac
ashamed.
at Orlando Airport. Passengers have
I'm
to
an
evacuate
American.
down
This
the
is
slides,
bullshit.
just like they showed
Bullshit.
you in the emergency procedures thing that the flight
Do
attendants
not
They have to evacuate down
say a
the
word.
slides as their Delta flight catches fire.
Call on God
And I could keep
and the
going,
truth.
not including all of them, because we'd be here all night.
and repent.
But perhaps you saw this weekend that again,
The light
2 passenger planes were forced
holds
to
me
abort
together.
their landings the very last second to avoid
All I
a
do is
collision
what?
with
The
a
truth.
US Army Black Hawk helicopter. Again,
I serve
once again,
truth.
Reagan National Airport in
Truth
Washington, D.C.
is God. Created everything
The
you can
head
see in
of
the light.
FAA, the head of the
That's
Federal
it.
Aviation Administration, is a job that is not supposed to turn over with every new
You are not weak.
it's one of
You
the
are
jobs
not
that has a
evil.
5-year term because
You're
it's
just
a-
conned
it's a
and
technocratic
bamboozled
job. It needs
and
stability. It's
stoked.
not a particularly political
There's nothing wrong with
position.
you. God's the only one that can unscrew this.
Now, before the election in September,
We are only
Donald
human
Trump's top
beings.
campaign donor, Elon Musk,
Forget
demanded
about these
publicly
words.
that the
They're
FAA
a bunch of
administrator
games
must resign.
planned out by the
He needs to resign.
incels, delusions.
The FAA administrator was only
You
about
know?
a year into his
AI,
5-year
give me a
term.
break.
There had been no major
Who
US plane
hates
crashes in years
AI?
and years and years.
That's for the hard stuff,
But
not
under
for
his leadership, the
common
FAA had issued
definitions.
a few $100,000 fines against Elon Musk's company SpaceX. And
So
there's
much
Elon Musk.
petulance.
He must resign. He must resign. A few
It's like
weeks
the
later, thanks in part to Elon
Tower
Musk
of
providing
Babel
the largest
again.
political donation in the history of the United States, Elon Musk's candidate gets elected president, and that FAA administrator who Elon Musk had publicly hunted, he sees the writing on the wall and he resigns. And the new president, Donald Trump, doesn't even bother to name a replacement. He hasn't even bothered to put an acting official in the job of running the Federal Aviation Administration.
They're grinding our
until
faces
after
in
that
it
midnight
now.
collision
This
over
is
COVID. He has, however, picked
this
the
is
husband
Isaiah,
of
the
one of his
Dead Sea
favorite
Scrolls.
Fox News hosts,
Isaiah
a
1
guy who was once a
or 2.
contestant on The Real World on MTV, a guy with no aviation or transportation experience whatsoever. He has picked him to be his Secretary of Transportation, a man who's never run anything large. And, you know, nothing against MTV at all, but it is possible this guy is in slightly over his head. He at least seems quite freaked out by the gravity of his job.
Apparently, the RNC doesn't matter. It's just a clown show.
And so, if we don't build a brand new system, there's going to
Oh, everything's going to be new now. You can't even fix the old.
Will lose their lives, says man with no experience at all who Donald Trump has put in charge of aviation safety in America. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said that at a cabinet meeting last week. And it was alarming. It sparked a bunch of headlines. It freaks people out when the Secretary of Transportation says people are going to die. When the guy says like that on camera at a cabinet meeting, people worry. But we now know that when he said that at that cabinet meeting on Wednesday, something really terrifying had just happened that he must have known about when he said that. But the Transportation Department at that point had not said anything about it publicly. Well, here's what we now know. That cabinet meeting where he said people are going to die, right? When he made that comment that freaked everybody out, that cabinet meeting was Wednesday last week. Something had happened on Monday of last week that we now know the details of. And you might have seen some of the news around this. You might have seen some headlines over the past few days about things being really snarled at the Newark airport in New Jersey.
Nice and messy.
Canceled, hundreds of flights delayed. And this isn't like a widespread thing, even though Newark is really close to at least 3 other major airports in New York and Philadelphia. Why is Newark Airport alone having hundreds of flights scratched and hundreds of flights delayed every day? In fact, we are 8 days in now to Newark having hundreds of flights canceled, hundreds of flights delayed every single day. 8 straight days of this, what's going on? And some of this is even worse and weirder. It's not just delays and cancellations. The biggest commercial airline at Newark Airport is United.
They're trying to break us.
35 of its round-trip flights in and out of Newark. Those aren't just like canceled for a day or delayed for a day. United has announced they will no longer fly those round trips at all. What's going on? Well, something has just happened at Newark Airport. New York Times tonight, quote, air traffic controllers temporarily lost communication with planes at Newark Liberty International Airport last week. Quote, a spokesman for the National Air Traffic Controllers Association said that on April 28th, which is last Monday, controllers responsible for separating and sequencing aircraft in and out of Newark Airport temporarily lost radar and communications with the aircraft under their control and were, quote, unable to see, hear, or talk to those aircraft.
Oh my God.
Former head of the Air Traffic Controllers Association telling New York Magazine, quote, your only job as an air traffic controller is to prevent airplanes from colliding. Your number one tool to separate airplanes is talking to them via communication, via the frequencies. If those go out, you have no ability to talk to them, no real ability to discern exactly where these airplanes are. That is something that should not happen.
You think?
But yet, it apparently did happen last Monday at Newark Airport. Bloomberg News reporting today, quote, when radar or radio frequencies stop working, there are no fail-safes.
Congratulations, conservative Christian nationalism. Nazis.
Also reporting today that
Russian Nazis.
at Newark Airport on Monday, quote,
Bad,
multiple
bad, bad,
employees
bad,
were
bad.
placed on trauma leave meaning air traffic controllers were placed on trial.
Father God.
Quote, the incident left several controllers visibly shaken, with at least one person experiencing stress-induced heart palpitations.
Oh my God.
And some air
Please,
traffic
God.
controllers shedding tears.
They're being
After this
tortured.
incident on Monday. NBC News reporter Tom Costello
Evil.
reporting this weekend
Petulance.
that one air traffic controller who handles Newark Airport airspace told him, quote, it is not a safe situation for the flying public, and quote, don't fly into Newark. Avoid Newark at all costs.
Wow.
The air traffic controllers are having heart palpitations, breaking down in tears, and having to take
All over numbers. All over numbers. The measuring sticks of dicks.
Air traffic controllers are sneaking word to reporters, it is not safe. How do we get a functional government back?
People.
Right, air traffic controllers aren't just like a team or like a private company. That's the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole air traffic control system is a government operation.
Yep. Minimum government. There you go.
Controllers losing contact, losing the ability to communicate or see any of the planes that they are actively in that moment controlling to try to stop them from smashing into one another. Just waiting until the systems come back up and hoping those planes have not hit each other while the systems were down, having no way of knowing. Breaking down in tears,
Oh my God.
having to go on trauma leave. And
Our
sneaking
Father
word to
who art in
reporters
heaven,
that
hallowed
this
be
is
thy
not
name.
safe.
Thy
That's
kingdom
our government
come.
right now. We are the
Thy will be
greatest
done
nation on the
on
planet
earth as it
and the
is in
most
heaven.
important economic and military
And give
and
us this
cultural power
day
the
our
modern
daily
world has
bread,
ever
as
known,
we
and it
forgive
is not
those
close.
who
But
trespass
this is
against
our
us.
government
And lead us
under these
not
days.
into temptation,
I mean, this
and
government
deliver
must
us
be
from
working
evil.
someone,
For
but it is
thine
not working to,
is
I don't
the
know,
king,
keep the planes
the
in the sky.
power, and the glory.
This was Washington, D.C. today. Senators and members of Congress and the former head of Social Security under President Biden, Martin O'Malley, rallying today in Washington, D.C. to try to defend Social Security from what Trump is doing to it. Specifically, these members of Congress and these senators today rallying to try to stop the confirmation tomorrow of Trump's nominee and the Doge guy to run Social Security.
They know Congress would never allow them to take that money without a fight unless they turned enough of the public against Social Security. So how do they do that? By wrecking its reputation with big lies. Big lies like illegal immigrants get benefits. They don't. They're prohibited. Big lies like there's a zombie apocalypse. There's no zombie apocalypse. Dead people do not get Social Security benefits. Big lies like it's a Ponzi scheme. Poppycock. It's not a Ponzi scheme. Bitcoin might
Yeah,
be, but
exactly.
not Social Security. Social Security's never been
1968, somebody told me what I saw on January 6th. It was the same picture he gave me, and I was 11 years old.
Time this ends. We not only have to stop Social Security being cut, we have to expand it for the first time in more than 50 years.
I will be voting in favor of every American who counts on Social Security. I am a hard no on Brexit. No way. I am not in favor of handing over the keys to our Social Security administration
No.
to a man who says that he will do whatever Donald Trump wants, whatever Elon Musk wants, no matter how much it's there just to help the billionaires and to take away from those who have paid into the Social Security system for years.
As today in Washington, members of Congress and senators trying to protect what can still be protected in Social Security. Today in Washington also, for the second straight week, we saw members...
You cannot just take away the laws.
For peacefully praying inside the U.S. Capitol Rotunda.
You can't just take away the Constitution. This
In Washington, two
freaking
Mondays in a row.
elected people,
This weekend,
man.
senior citizens and
They're so
their
fucking
friends rallied
stupid.
in San Bruno, California
I can't
to
say
stand up
that.
for
That's
Social Security, to defend
stupid.
Social Security.
I'm
This
stupid.
weekend, 2,000 people turned out in Kalamazoo County, Michigan, to
wow.
protest against Trump and stand up for Social Security. Another big crowd turned out.
Anti-Trump protest. Imagine that.
Time.
Probably all the motherfuckers that voted for him.
Cedar Rapids, Iowa, to protest
So fuck
against
'em.
Trump.
Put 'em all.
Look how many people turned out in Olympia, Washington this weekend to protest against Trump. There were anti-Trump protests this weekend in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and in South Bend, Indiana. There were a bunch of people who turned out to protest against Trump in Toledo, Ohio, and in Newton, New Jersey, and standing out in the rain in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. I see you guys out there in Gulfport, Mississippi, protesting this weekend against Trump on the overpass over I-90 in Gulfport. And at the Tesla dealership in Pasadena, California, where they've been turning out people to protest every week. And at the Tesla dealership in Manhattan. And then marching downtown. Don't be a chicken in a coop. A lot of people in a lot of places this weekend stepping up specifically for immigrants. Look at this. This is Lima, Ohio, outside the offices of Republican Congressman Jim Jordan. This is a rally of Jim Jordan's constituents to support our Haitian neighbors in Ohio, people from Haiti who are here with what's called temporary protected status. Trump is trying to rescind or shorten that. These people in Lima, Ohio this weekend saying, don't do it. Saying these are our friends and neighbors who are here from Haiti and we want them to stay. People in El Paso, Texas marched this weekend under the banner, reclaiming our dignity and rights. And here, this is interesting. This is Tucson, Arizona. Here you see a large number of people protesting this weekend outside the Tucson Medical Center in Tucson, Arizona. That's because Trump's immigration agents a few days ago took over part of the maternity ward in Tucson, because these are the wrong images. These are from different. Got the Tucson footage there? Let's recycle that through. In Tucson, Arizona, there's been this dramatic thing at Tucson Medical Center because Trump's immigration agents turned up at the maternity ward at this hospital. They were staking out the maternity ward, immigration agents, right? Because they wanted to grab a woman who was literally in that hospital in Tucson giving birth.
Oh,
And when people in Tucson,
there you
found out that
go.
Trump's immigration agents
There you
were
go,
at Tucson Medical
Christians.
Center in the maternity unit,
Hunting them in.
waiting to grab this woman as soon as she gave birth. People in Tucson sprang to her defense. They started protesting at the medical center. They're trying to stop Trump's agents from taking this woman and her brand new newborn baby. They protested this weekend in Tucson at Tucson Medical Center. The woman now has a lawyer, and as the protests have continued there, she has not been shipped off somewhere. She is in Tucson, according to local news reports, with the community there still fighting.
God says they're gonna
In Nashville,
grind
Tennessee,
our
a similar
faces in this.
situation minus the hospital. In Nashville, Tennessee, Trump's immigration agents made mass arrests overnight on Saturday night. Word spread, and on Sunday, early on Sunday, people in Nashville flooded to the Department of Homeland Security office there to try to figure out who they had taken overnight Saturday night to protest against it, to try to stop these buses of people that they were trying to take away. At least some of the people there say they know that some of the people who were arrested Saturday night by immigration agents in Nashville are actually people who are in this country legally, and they don't know why they were arrested. In response to these protests at the Homeland Security facility in Nashville, Nashville's mayor now says he and his office are working to determine at least the names of who was taken in Nashville Saturday night and why. And that's just a snapshot of this weekend. That's
coming for all of us.
that happened
Anyone that speaks up.
on Thursday, including big
And
protests
God
in
is the
places
only
like
one that can
San
protect
Diego
us.
and Tucson and
Talk to him.
outside the ICE immigration prison in Tacoma, Washington.
Ask.
But the protests, big May Day protests on Thursday were everywhere.
Don't
Here's
doubt.
Boston, Denver, Los Angeles, Philadelphia,
And don't doubt the
Raleigh, North
facts.
Carolina,
Truth.
San Francisco. You want some more? Want some more? We've got more. Here is left to right, top to bottom. Atlanta, Georgia, Chicago, Illinois, Phoenix. Not that 20 bucks, thank you. Chicago, Illinois, Phoenix, Arizona, Columbia, South Carolina, San Jose, California, Birmingham, Alabama, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We had a huge event in Philadelphia, another huge one in St. Paul, Minnesota, Seattle, Washington, Los Angeles, Baltimore, Maryland, Tuscaloosa, Alabama had a huge turnout. Hartford, Connecticut, New York, Washington, D.C., Lafayette, Louisiana, Las Vegas, Nevada, Tacoma, Washington, Buffalo, New York, Oakland, California. People turned out this weekend in Washington, D.C. to stand up for Black history, to stand up for the National Museum of African American History. Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin turned out 2,000 people this weekend for a town hall in the New York district of a Republican congressman named Andrew Garbarino. Senator Bernie Sanders turned out 6,000 people for a rally in the district of Pennsylvania, Republican Congressman Ryan McKenzie. The government right now is a mess. You may not like what the government is trying to do, but what they're not trying to do and is happening anyway is worse. The government right now is a mess under Donald Trump. Some of the stuff that absolutely cannot go wrong is going wrong under Donald Trump, the way he's running this stuff.
Yeah.
Government is a mess, but the people are busy pushing back and busy trying to fix it. The pushback has apparently caused Trump to give up on his plan of closing Head Start programs all around the country. The pushback against Trump eliminating Head Start was apparently too much for him to bear, so now the Trump administration says that it is rescinding its cuts to Head Start. Republican members of Congress are also now realizing that they better start pushing back on Trump's plan to kill AmeriCorps. Who's against AmeriCorps? Trump is getting pushback on that now from Republicans in Congress, including Jack Bergman of Michigan and Don Bacon of Nebraska, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, and at least 3 Republican U.S. senators, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, and Susan Collins of Maine. You're also starting to see Republican members of Congress push back now on the Trump cuts to LIHEAP. LIHEAP is the program that pays for people's home heating oil. Why would you want to get rid of it?
Spite,
Susan Collins of Maine,
revenge.
Waller of New York now pushing back on Trump
You know,
about his cuts to LIHEAP after their own
a bunch of
constituents pushed
tools
hard on them because of it.
with no spines.
People push back on these things. Republican senators and members of Congress
Not if
can't
you
defend
don't
what
get
Trump
us
is
the
doing.
information.
And so then they start to push back against Trump on it as well. And then Trump caves. That's what we've learned over the 100 days.
It's not
That's the
funny.
system. It's not a great system, but it's a system. It's not like also an air traffic control system, which apparently
We should have been on this part in 2015.
But the system of pushing back and organizing and
The day
protesting
that
and
he,
demanding a change in course, demanding that this
a
thing
candidate
get
for president,
rerouted. That system is up and
feigned
running. It is apparently pretty well oiled. It's working
being
well. We've got
a
lot more to say
leader
about that
under
today.
oath.
Stay with us.
I collapsed. I thought I would die. When I survived and I continued to breathe, I promised God all I wanted to do is save my country from what I thought was an oath disease.
And send money quickly.
An oath. My oath.
Convenience from Chase. Make more of what's yours.
I imagined fully under every situation. Inhumane, lying, cheating, you know, all the commandments, all the basic, common decency levels, manners, petulance just took over. Now, hopefully, you know, we can save a few people. But you have to atone for your sins to get full support from God. Oh, it's worth it. It's so worth it. Ask for his help, and you won't believe how great it is. Just keep talking to him. He likes honesty, even though he knows everything you're thinking and doing. Please call on God. I promise you're not gonna regret it. It'll lift your light every day. Trust God.
So I would like for the ATTRIC